most of the channels that way. Some do, I think. I mean, you hear some of the Americans and some of the Europeans. Oh, yeah. So, no, I'm happy with these ones. They're quite nice.
Bearing in mind that's my finger and that's a capacitor. Pretty small. So, yeah, I'm going to have a go. I'm going to attempt to try and solder onto those. Hello, welcome back to Fred in the Shed. I hope you're all doing okay today. Now, do you remember a few weeks ago we looked at this radio? This was the RETEVIS MB63, an entirely legal UK CB radio with all the foreign channels on as well. Quite a nice radio. We took it out mobile and we tested it, got some good audio reports from it. Entry level radio, this one comes in just under £55 on Amazon. And I said to you that RETEVIS also did a higher power version of this radio, and that's what's come into the shack today. We've got the full kit here. We've got the radio and we've also got the antenna. Same antenna as before. It's a small antenna. It's 1 meter 15 centimeters. Absolutely fine for local comms. I kind of think myself it's always best to maybe try and get something a little bit bigger if you can. This one is very discreet and you might like that. I think 1.5 meters, 1 meter 75 is a good size for a CB antenna, but not all of you will want to grab a great big antenna on your car. So this could be a good option. So once again, the radio is provided as a standalone radio, or you can buy it in the kit form. I won't be doing a mobile test on this video. Unfortunately, I've injured my ankle. I've done my Achilles tendon, so I can't drive at the moment. But what I will be doing is we'll probably have a look at this radio, and then we'll be going inside it, and then we'll be doing the expansion mod, and we'll put it on a meter, and we'll see how much extra power we get out of the high-powered version. So anyway, let's crack into that. Hope you enjoyed the video. Going to do a super quick unboxing. I did do this on the last video. I'll try and make it as quick as possible. So as always, you get a decent owner's manual with RETEVIS products. Quite like this one because it shows you all of the channels here, all of the Euro channels, all of the bands that the radio does. I believe it's 7 bands, same as the previous model, and also the menu system. I think there's a couple more options this radio has got, being its expanded version, but yeah, no problem with that. Now the radio itself, let's have a quick look at that. In fact, no, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put that to one side, and there's something I want to show you, because I did criticise the previous model because I wasn't happy with the microphone. It worked, it was absolutely fine, but I didn't like the feel of it. On this model, really pleased to say that they've shipped it with a far better microphone. This microphone is no stranger to me. Let me just get it out the bag. This microphone I instantly recognise because it's basically the CRT M9, which is this one. I've been using this microphone for many years on my CRT radios, and I know before I even plug it in that this is a really good quality microphone. I've never had a bad report on this microphone. In fact, I've never swapped it out on my CRT 9900. Done loads of DXing on it. It's a nice chunky feeling microphone in the hand. It's got a very positive, non-clicky PTT, and we do have the up and down buttons there if you're going to have this in the car, and you can keep that connected to the dashboard. 6-pin plug, so it is removable from the radio. So yeah, really pleased that they've gone over to this microphone, and in a way that justifies the small price increase on the radio. So yeah, very happy with that. Usual stuff, little spare radio fuse, mic bracket, which is metal. Also the radio bracket itself, again, as in the previous model there, painted metal, and I find that's important. It just looks nicer if you're going to use it home based. I know a lot of you won't worry about that, but yeah, quite pleased to see that. Let's just clear the bench down and have a look at the radio. So before we even get the radio out of the bag, straight away I've noticed it has a cigarette lighter socket or an auxiliary plug. The MB63, it didn't come with that, and I had to attach that. You'd have seen that on the previous video. Not quite sure why they did that. Always good that they provide a plug. Most cars with auxiliary sockets can handle 10 amps. That will be plenty for this radio. Even when I mod it, I don't think it will pull anything like that. So yeah, really, really nice to see that. Only thing I think they could have possibly improved with the power lead is that once again it goes hardwired into the back of the radio. I do prefer the old Uniden type lead where you can remove it. It makes it so much easier. For example, if you're going to use this in your truck or in your car and then you want to take it out of the car at night time, just unplug your power lead if you've hardwired it in, of course. And again, if you want to use it at home as a home base unit, you can plug the lead in and out. So yeah, would have liked to have seen that as a plug connector. On the back of the radio, there is a difference here. We've got the usual 259 there, external speaker or headphones with adapters. But on this radio, you can see there is a heatsink, whereas the other radio didn't have it. Straight away, that tells me you're going to have stronger final transistors in this radio, which means we can mod it, get a little bit more power. I'm not quite sure how much we'll get. We'll put it on a meter later to find out. Just layout exactly the same as the MB63. No problem with that at all, actually. Manual volume control, always good to see. Has a manual squelch, does have automatic squelch if you want to use that, and that will be adjustable in the menu system. The only difference that I can see on the front is that below the scan button here on the other radio, that was to turn the Roger beep on and off. This radio is fitted with a noise blank system. Again, quite useful if you're going to use this mobile. The noise blank system will help suppress any interference from your car. It really won't do much when we are home based, but it's nice that it's there. Right, let's get some power to it and have a quick look at the menu system. Okay, so switching the radio on for the first time. It's so similar to the previous radio, I shouldn't really need to look at the instructions. There we go, straight into the Euro channel. So the first thing you notice is that the display is red. I haven't got a problem with that, actually. I think it looks quite nice. Also, and it's worth a mention, the radio will monitor without a microphone plugged in. Some radios you have to have the microphone plugged in. These radios don't, which is quite good. So, as I say, just looking at the buttons here, emergency channel, channel 9, channel 19, hold it down to lock the radio. Also, if you've got Vox activated, that's the microphone button there. Scan, as before. I think if we turn the squelch up. There we go, yeah. So the radio just scans. It actually scans quite quick. I noticed this on the previous model. That's quite a quick scan for a CB radio. Bring down the squelch. Switch the scan off. Now this radio has a noise blanker, a noise suppressor, as I say, mainly for mobile use. It won't make a lot of difference. We'll turn it on. Home based might just take out a little bit QRM, but maybe a PLT noise or something. You might as well just leave it switched on. It all helps. Would have been nice maybe if it had a noise reduction system. Might have to spend a little bit more money to get that, but it's there, isn't it? AM, FM, pretty standard, or hold it down for a PA system. That will give you a talk back as well, so if you want to try a different microphone and wonder what your voice sounds like, you can use that. Simple channel up and down. Got an annoying key beep on at the moment, so we'll switch that off. And then we've got the menu system. So let's have a quick look through there. Brightness of the display. Yeah, that's quite dim actually for nighttime use. I think on this red display we'll leave that at 3. I think that's it looks quite retro, doesn't it? It looks very much like a older CB radio. Right, how do we get out of that? Let's just go through again. Auto squelch. Now, so like the previous model, I do like this because you can adjust the auto squelch level. Sometimes it's just on or off. This one has 9 levels of auto squelch. So although I don't normally use auto squelch, I probably would try it with this radio. The fact that you can adjust it, it's quite good. Timeout timer for your transmit, so you don't overload the finals. T1, again, this is all going to be the Vox setting, the delay. Roger beep. Oh, excuse me. I'm going to turn that off in a minute, that's annoying. Roger beep. 6 bleeps. I like that one. So same as the previous model. I quite like that number 4. It's very much like a CRT beep, so we'll stick with that. Key beep, finally. Right, switch that off. So where were we? Key beeps. Brightness of display, auto levels, and I think that's really about it. Now then, when the radio ships to you, it's a legal radio. It's 4 watts AM and it's 4 watts FM. Now pay attention, because this bit's quite important. When the radio ships to you, it ships to you as a perfectly legal UK AM FM radio. It has 4 watts output on AM and 4 watts output on FM. As you notice, and I pointed out, it does have a heatsink on the back of the radio, which means that the final transistors are bigger and it will output higher power. There is a mod that you have to go inside the radio to do, and we'll be looking at that later. I shall attempt that. I don't know the output once the radio is modded, but I do know that it will no longer be type approved. It will no longer be a legal radio to use. It will become a dark side radio. As you know, on this channel, I don't have too much trouble with that, but if you decide to take that extra step, please be aware you do so at your own risk, and you do have to be comfortable with doing that. Now, when you first switch on the radio, it defaults to the Euro channels. To get the UK channels, you simply have to hold down the AM FM switch and then turn on. You can see this is now flashing. So this is where all of the other CB channels are for different countries. Just remember that the United States channels are also the same as Euro channels. So this is the UK. So we switch the radio off, switch the radio on. Now by default, and this got me before on the previous radio, we're still in the Euro channels. To get to the UK channels, we then have to press the AM FM, and we need that U there in the display. That is now the UK 40 channels. That's the AM Euro channels, and that's the FM Euro channel. So that's quite useful actually, because that's the 3 main blocks of channels that I would use. As I say, USA is same as Euro. But there's our UK channels. It's very early in the morning here. I don't suppose there's anyone going to be on. No, completely dead. Yeah, pretty easy to use that. Just have to have that U in the display to have the UK channels.
So just looking at this mod, I'll try and put this up on the screen for you, and once the radio is expanded, the output jumps from 4 watts to 15 watts on FM and 8 watts AM, so that's quite an improvement. Breaks the radio down into bands, and looking at this, the lowest it will go down to is just above 24 meg, so 24.7 megahertz, which is what, 12 meters, isn't it? All the way up to a fraction over 30 megahertz, which is 10 meters. Just have to be very, very aware, if you do go ahead with this mod, that you can't transmit on those frequencies without a ham radio license. Please don't do that. But it does cover the Euro bands, which is the American bands, and that's band D, 269652, 27405. So it will have the European bands and the American bands, but it does appear that it loses the UK bands, which is a bit of a shame, isn't it, really? I mean, normally you can opt to keep that. I think once you do this mod, there's no way back to get the to get the UK bands, I think it just goes into these A to L, and I think you just lose it, which is a bit of a shame really. Now when it comes down to the soldering, again, this is a little bit odd. Normally there's a wire that you would cut, and then there's a little jumper switch on the circuit board to make the adjustment. This is a permanent adjustment. You have to solder 2 little pads on the circuit board, and they look very, very small on this diagram because these are capacitors. So really, once you've soldered those across, it's not reversible, and you lose the UK band. So what I'm going to try to do, and I'm not very good at surface mount soldering, but what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to see if I can't fit a switch across those 2 pads. Might be too fine for me to do. I do have a fairly fine tipped soldering iron here, and it is temperature controlled, so I might be able to do it. If I can't do it, then I'll just have to ground them across, and then I lose the UK band. So yeah, it's definitely worth thinking about. I think before you go ahead with this, you want to do you really want to lose the UK bands? Just have a Euro band radio. But you do get the extra power. But anyway, I guess let's open the radio up and have a look. So this is inside the radio, pretty typical of a modern CB radio, all surface mount, no adjustment pots, anything like that. And the 2 pads that we want are the ones that are way in there and there. So we're pretty much down to surface mount type soldering. Let me zoom in. So there we go. So bearing in mind that's my finger and that's a capacitor, pretty small. So yeah, I'm going to have a go. I'm going to attempt to try and solder onto those. I managed to get a couple of wires soldered onto that board, but I'm going to say that is at the absolute limit of my soldering skills. Any smaller than that, then I wouldn't have been able to have achieved that. So I just need to get a switch now. I did have one actually. Let's zoom out there. I did have one of these little switches. Lucky I tested it. This is a used one, and when I tested it, it's no longer working. So I need to get another switch in, and then maybe fit it in the back of the case there. And then we can test the radio, and hopefully we'll have a switchable, legal to export radio. Well, I've done it. I fitted a switch in. It's probably not the prettiest installation. It reminds me very much of the old bodgies that you used to get when people used to fit extra channels and use the channel 9 switch. But anyway, hopefully it will work. So the idea being, we've got a little switch around here. When it's in this position, which will be at the bottom of the radio will be legal, AM, FM, 4 watts with the UK channels. Switch the radio off, short that jumper, switch the radio back on. It should go into export mode. Give us that 15 watts and 8 watts. And yeah, just make sure we get on the right band. I think it's band D. Need to double check because it will be completely open on the hand bands as well. Anyway, I think we need to put it all back together and put it onto a power meter, and let's see if it works. Okay, I guess this is moment of truth then. Has my soldering skills overheated the board? Have I bricked the radio? Yeah, no, you don't know, do you? Anyway, just quickly show you what I've got here. I've got Gary's dummy load. I've got this little SWR power meter that you've probably seen before on the channel. Quite a nice little bit of kit, not expensive. And we've got the AFRI power supply, which is quite interesting because it'll show the watts, not amps, but the watts being drawn by the radio. So yeah, I suppose I better switch it on, I guess. Switch is in the off position, so this should be UK. Oh, it's come on, so that's saying it's on the UK. Yes, hey, there you go. So that's FM and that's UK channels. Let's see if the sound still works. Okay, so far so good. So if I press this, we should go to AM on the Euro block, FM on the Euro block, UK again. Brilliant. So far so good. We're actually receiving static on a dummy load, would you believe?
The output is, as you can see there, I think is at 2 watts. Yeah, so the radio is just drawing about 2 watts of power. I'll key up and I'll be interested to see how many watts it draws, and then we'll zoom in a little bit on the meter because you might not be able to see. So let's key the radio. There we go. So we're now drawing 20 watts on legal power, and I'm showing 3.77 watts. Let's zoom into the radio a little bit so we can see the meter clearer on the Euro block. A little bit more actually. Oh, it'll deviate with my voice. Audio 1 2, audio 1 2. Very hard to say, but certainly over 4 watts, maybe deviating up to 5 watts, and then FM on the Euro. Yeah, look at that, 4.1 watts. So that's good, isn't it? That's really, really good. Right, okay, so the moment of truth now. Switch the radio off. Switch my new little switch up to the up position. I can find it without looking, which I can't. Oh, it's that side, right. Now then, so this time, switch the radio on, hold down the AM FM button, and we should see it change into one of the bands. There we go. Right, so we are in band D, which I think is the Euro channels. Yeah, so we're in the Euro channels. I wonder if we get the alpha channels now. Yes, see that? So it's give us the alpha channels. I think there's one more. There you go. So we've now got the alpha channels. That's cool. There must be a way of changing the band. Not that we have to be very, very, very careful where we can transmit. Let's have a quick look in the menu. So as before, brightness. Oh, okay, so we've got a minus 5k shift, which is currently off. And see that? So sometimes you used to get a 10k shift, we've got a 5k shift. Okie dokie. Auto squelch, timeout timer, PO, power. There we go, low power. High power, little H, or H if you like. Okay, let's stick it on low for the time being. Let me get back to where we were. Alright. Set the Vox activated, level of the Vox, Roger beep, key beep, back to brightness. Not quite sure how you do the bands. Okay, let's test it on this one first, and then we'll go to the band. So let's go up to channel 19 on FM. Now this is low power, of course, so it should be the same as before, I think. Yeah, so it's still legal. 4 watts on low power, so we're still at the legal setting. AM, audio, audio, all over the place. So 4 to 7 watts on AM. 7 watts on a flat, 7 watts on the Roger, 9 watts on the Roger beep. Not sure, you get a lot of sway, I'm not sure about that. Right, okay. So let's go into the menus, let's put it onto high power. Okay, we now changed it on to high power. And that's that. Wait for that to come out. So we've got a little H there on the display just to let us know we're in high power. Wait for the menu to time out. Right, channel 19 FM, 20.5 watts. Said 18, didn't it? SWR 0.7, 99%. Slightly dropping. And it has got that heatsink on the back. Absolutely stone cold. Okay, let's try our AM, the best we can do. 8 watts. Audio, audio, audio. Audio, audio, audio. Yeah, it's all over the place, isn't it? So about 8 watts without deviation. So yeah, quite useful. So 20 watts on FM on the Euro channels. Yeah, 20 watts is quite useful, certainly for getting skip contacts. Obviously, we can't use that power on the UK channels, unfortunately. Sometimes you can on these radios. That would have been quite nice. Now then, to change the bands, how do we do that? It says short press the menu key after menu key to change the band. Short press menu key after the menu key to change the bands. Just a short press. There you go, double press on the menu. There we go, so double press on the menu gives us the extra bands. Now, as I said to you, you've got to be really, really careful here, because F, for example, puts you just into the bottom part of the 10 metre band. G, the meat of the 10 metre band. H, or H, top of the 10 metre band. J, yeah, so, and then if you go all the way to L, puts you into 24 megs, so that's down into what, 12 metres, isn't it? And I haven't got a clue what that is. U, A. Okay, my chart doesn't show U. I wonder if that's UK. Don't suppose so. Not really quite sure about that. Let me go and check, and I've got another chart upstairs. Right, I'm back. So that's my long chart, and that doesn't actually say, it hasn't got U on there. I wonder if that is UK. I wonder if that gives you, so if I press menu, that locks it in U. I'd have to find out when I've got an antenna on. And let's have a look at the wattage. So if we look at the power bank now, and I key up, this is high power. There you go, it's pulling 40 watts. So 20 watts RF power. And that's dropped down. That's dropped down to 19 watts. We always get slightly lower. I reckon that's the UK, you know. I reckon we've got the UK band. So we've got ourselves a 19.5 watt radio on the UK band. And I think if we... Yeah, we can't change that to the Euro anymore. Find that out when we go upstairs, connect it to the antenna. Anyway, I'm so glad I've successfully done that mod. I won't lie to you, it is a very, very delicate piece of soldering. If you do surface mount, I know a lot of you do, you'll absolutely walk that. For me, that's about my limit with my eyesight these days and my very, very slightly shaky hands. I'm afraid that's just age. So yeah, if you take it on, just be aware. Right, brilliant. Let's go take it upstairs and see if we can receive anything and test it with an antenna. Back up in the shack there, a little bit messy with all the wires over the desk, but it is only testing really, isn't it? Right, switcher on. So let's confirm whether this is the UK or not. I think this is the UK, so we're on channel 23 FM. Got the Antron connected. And we've got high power. So if I switch on the Alinco, and if I switch that down to 23, I can't transmit on the Alinco because it's got no antenna, but I can have it on receive. So to channel 23, let's see if we get a bleep. There you go, there you go. Audio 1 2 1 2 1 2 audio. Brilliant. So yes, we've got the UK FM. UK FM. And if we switch that down to low power, we're back to 4 watts. So yeah, I suppose really when you look at it, I didn't really need to put that switch in, did I? The only thing I would say I've gained by keeping that switch in is that when you're in the UK setting, it's purely on UK FM. I can't quickly just go to the Euro channels or AM, which is quite useful, to be honest. Charlie Tango 16 at 64 FM modulation. Fred in the Shed on FM modulation. Anyone by?
On the FM, nice clear modulation. It was a bit scratchy on their side band, but that's because you weren't on that band.
That's right. Yeah, just AM FM on this one. I say it's a little RETEVIS radio. I've just modded it, so it's putting out just about, I think, around about 18 to 19 watts, something like that. So you're giving me a signal 7, which is your usual signal. What am I giving you, Dan? If I give you a little over 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2, how's the signal looking? Back to you, buddy.
Well, it's not much of a signal, but the audio is good. Good, strong audio, Radio 5. I'm not sure why my meter's not working on FM. Meter doesn't seem to move for some reason. Maybe it's because my radio's not made up for the FM mode on this particular band, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, okay, mate. Yeah, I should be giving you some signal. As I say, it is it's putting out just under 20 watts. 20 watts power, I think about 18 watts or something. So yeah, that should move the meter. But as long as the audio's fine, as I say, as long as I'm coming across nice and clear. You sound really nice on this radio, actually. Back to you, mate.
Yeah, you sound good here. Just for some reason my meter isn't moving on the FM.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, it does have a heat sink. It does have a heat sink. Oh, it's not really, I wouldn't say warm. It's very, very slightly warm. Should we try AM? We just go to AM and see if I get a signal from you. I get a signal across to you. Back to you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, go on then.
Okay, 1 2 1 2 3 4. So on the AM now, I think we're doing about 8 watts now on AM. So any signal on the meter, Dan? Back to you, mate.
No, my signal reader doesn't want to work on this mode. But yeah, audio is clear, nice and clear. It's slightly more trebly than the FM, but it's good, clear Radio 5.
Cheers, Dan. Yeah, you're obviously a little bit quieter on the AM. That's quite normal, isn't it? FM is so wide, it's almost like sort of BBC quality there. Let's go back to the FM. I think I was getting you better on the FM, mate. Sorry to muck you about, buddy.
Yeah, okay, then. See you over there.
Good old Dan. I do muck him about. Okay, mate. Yeah, back on the FM. I think that's where it was working the best.
Yeah, well, it's working okay here, Fred. Nice and clear audio.
So I've dropped down to 4 watts, Dan. I'm back on legal power, so I assume you're still getting me okay, even though I'm not giving you a signal, Rog.
Yeah, it's audio is still good. But as I say, my radio doesn't seem to like this mode very much. It's not really. I'm not really supposed to be on this mode.
And there we go then. Good old Dan giving me a radio report. I thought it sounded really nice. It does help that it's got that big bassy speaker in the bottom. So a proper CB speaker. And I'll be honest with you, although noise reduction is quite nice, it doesn't really need it with that bassy speaker. So conclusion time then. What do I think? Well, I think compared to the normal MB63, the totally normal legal radio, for the extra £15 that this one costs, I think it's money well spent. And purely because you get a better microphone. I've never had any bad audio reports from this M9 microphone on all of the radios where it's fitted to. Always had good quality audio reports, and it's just comfortable to use, and you've got the up and down keys there. Helps you out in the channels and also the menus. I mean, for me, an extra £15 alone, I would go for that. Also, it's more convenient having the cigarette lighter socket or the auxiliary socket already fitted to the cables. I don't know why the other one didn't have that. So for that alone, I think it's worth the extra £15. And then you've got the modding possibility. Now, as I just said, I don't know if it's really worth fitting the switch
I'll leave a link in the description where I've got the switches if you're interested, only about £5. If you do fit the switch, then obviously, as I said before, when you're on the UK channels, it's dead easy to go Euro channels, AM, FM, and then back to the UK FM. It just saves going through the menu system. But if you do go ahead and you do the mod and you just short those two little pads across on the circuit board, which is probably the easiest way to do it. I probably gave myself more work than I needed to. You still do have the UK FM, and you still can revert back to 4 watts, which in most circumstances, as long as you've got a decent antenna up, 4 watts is all you need, really. But it is nice to have the option to just crank it up that little bit extra, maybe 18 watts on FM, if you're going to go after DX, something like that. So it's nice to have the option, and again, for the extra £15, I think it's worth it. The only other difference between the radios is the noise blanker. I've got it switched on, but there's no point at home. It won't really do much at home. It might help you out if you've got it in the car. So there you go, end of the review. As always, I'd like to thank RETEVIS for sending in the radio. They're fairly new to CB, and I think they're on the right track with these two radios, so thank you very much to them. And more importantly, thank you very much for you guys for tuning in and watching my videos, especially if you watched it to the very end. So cheers. Thumbs up from Fred in the Shed. Usual thing, if you get a chance, just hit me a thumbs up before you go, before you clear off. I would appreciate it. And that's it. Please, please, please look after each other for me. Take care, and of course I'll catch you all on the next video. Cheers guys, thanks a lot.